Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gameweek 18 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zofa, and I'm joined by my co-host, Pras, who's joining us from New York today. How are you doing, Pras?
I'm doing all right. It's one of those things where the time zone still works out because I woke up a couple of hours ago. You'll be in bed in 2 hours, but here we are, going through the grind of Game Week 18.
Still going through, actually, Game Week 17 isn't over yet. Technically, we are still in the midst of
It's
Game
true.
Week
It's true.
17. It's Tuesday, and we are recording at approximately, I think, 1:30 p.m. UK time, and the Game Week is still on. There's no point even talking about our Game Week ranks because so much could change still. But in general, decent Game Week for you?
Decent Game Week. Yeah, I think we've all had decent last 3-4 game weeks, and now you're close to what, 100K now?
85K now, but the Game Week, you don't know how it'll change. It could go either way because a lot of auto subs coming on for Haaland as well, right? His EO was
Right.
still pretty decent, so you have a lot of the Haaland subs, Solanke subs, if they happen, we don't know yet, but approximately plus or minus 20 either way.
That's great. I mean, it's a great position around Christmas to be 100K. So anything is possible from here.
Hopefully, just try to get as close to 50K hopefully by the end of the year, because January there's going to be a very much fewer batch of games, right? I think the sandwich with the whole break side, so get in a good position and relax during January. A lot
Yeah,
of clean sheets. lot of surprisingly, I think most of us had a full house of clean sheets. Pretty much the first time this season, I'm pretty sure.
They came like London buses, they say, right? I mean, we've been crying out for clean sheets, getting 2 pointers, and suddenly everybody gets a clean sheet, even Chelsea.
Even Chelsea. Fair point. And yeah, we will be talking a lot about now putting money back into defense. It's a big topic this week with the Haaland money. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
First up, the sponsor plugs.
So all the stats you'll see today are from Fantasy Football Scout, and essentially the data that we will do to compare and even look at the fixture ticker, all from the FF Scout. Some of it members area and some of it even just live editorial that you get for free. And we love that kind of stuff because it keeps you up to date in terms of, the yellow card suspensions, the rest periods, and of course, scout notes, which are our favorite. So do check it out and become a member if you can. It'll be in the description below.
We have also partnered with NordVPN. If you're bored of the streaming libraries available in your country, you can expand your selection using NordVPN with the click of a button. There are over 5,000 plus server options available and no content is out of your reach. Privacy is a big deal too for all of us. Nord keeps your data encrypted and your IP address hidden to ensure complete privacy while you're browsing the internet. They've also added a new threat protection feature. You can say goodbye to intrusive website ads and malware. Even if you download an infected file, threat protection kicks in and deletes it before it makes a mess of your computer. If you sign up using our creator code nordvpn.com/FPL Wire, you get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months for free. They also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. I'm going to be using it tonight to watch the Carabao Cup game. It's not broadcast here in India. I think both
is it
teams.
not?
No, it's I don't think even the final. I think there is for fan code, but then you can only watch that on PC.
Right.
So, and plus it's very choppy. So I don't know, but I think both teams will play strong sides today.
I think so. I mean, both managers need that figurative win in terms of a trophy this year. So I think both will be, and it has implications on what happens in the future, which we'll also talk about.
Why don't you start with that?
Well, I think the Carabao Cup, the few things people need to know. Firstly, yellow cards don't carry. So, right, I mean, if Palmer gets a yellow tonight, that's not his fifth because that is competition specific. But if a player gets a red card tonight, that will carry. So that has just direct implications on blank game week 18. But there is also the bigger thing where today we will find out, or actually tomorrow we will find out, who are the semi-finalists of the Carabao Cup. And because there are 3 or 4 easier teams, so let's say if Liverpool make it and one of Chelsea and Newcastle make it and they avoid each other, then you can say with some certainty that Liverpool and one of Newcastle or Chelsea will blank in game week 26. And why game week 26 is actually a really annoying game week for them to blank is because in that same game week, Chelsea are playing Spurs and Newcastle are playing Arsenal.
Oh, so not a popular FPL assets.
Exactly. So if Chelsea or Newcastle make it, which is likely, then you will have your Arsenal guys blanking or your Spurs guys blanking. That then has implications on who do you actually keep. So if if you're looking at a Trippier today and it's Newcastle who win tonight, then you know that Trippier has difficult fixtures against Man City, Arsenal, Aston Villa, and then he also has a blank in game week 26. So it might play into your thinking as opposed to if they lose tonight and then you have a clear run of getting Trippier without an issue. So something to watch out for, both not only in terms of who makes it, but also the draw. If Liverpool play the winner of Chelsea and Newcastle in the semi-final, that solves it a lot because then you know that only one of these guys will make the final. The other one will be either an Everton or a Fulham or a championship team. So that's actually not too bad.
Yeah, and that's something that will factor into our decision. And I think the big topic of the week now is all of us have the money floating around with Haaland's sell last week. And from what we have heard, he's still not training with the team in Saudi. So he's likely going to miss their first game. I don't know whether he will train and be available for the second game, but more and more it's looking like his availability for 19 might be a bit dodgy, and that 20 is just 2-3 days after. So increasingly now, and again, we are just speculating, things could change. It is looking like Haaland could miss the program up to game week 20.
Yeah, and even if he is back, let's say he plays a cameo in the final, like you said, I mean, game week 19 is on a Wednesday, game week 20 is early afternoon on a Saturday. So there's no guarantee that he starts both either. And you have a nice little exit route, right? I mean, we talked about it in the last pod where Salah is playing Newcastle and then he's off to AFCON. So it could be a route where people just say, look, I will spend the Haaland money now. I'll get a Trippier or a Trent or a Son if I don't have, and then I'll figure it out by selling Salah in a couple of weeks. And it also has implications on Alvarez. I mean, maybe Alvarez is a good pick next week.
But there's also the De Bruyne factor. Now, De Bruyne was back in training. That's what putting me off Alvarez, because then right in January, you have Haaland back and KDB back, which makes Alvarez a bit dodgy. And also from what that game I saw, he didn't really have that many chances against Palace. It's not like he's getting the same quality of chances from Haaland, because his movement, the way he plays, it's not a predatory forward.
Yeah. He does create chances for others rather. I mean, they change the way they play a little bit, because he's, you can say, even a more complete, I mean, not comparing him to Haaland that way, but, Haaland is the finisher. Alvarez can actually improve a bit like Jesus and Aguero in a very, very rough way.
So what are your thoughts in general about investing the money in defense? And let's look at some stats first for the two guys we are looking at, Trippier and Trent.
Yep, let's do that.
So I've got the data up. This is for the last 8 game weeks from the Scout members area. You have Trent to the left, Trippier to the right. And for the guys on audio, I'll just walk you through some of the stats. In terms of penalty area touches, it's pretty close. Neither is getting into the box a lot. It's about just 1 penalty area touch per game. Trent has scored a couple of goals. He's taken 15 shots, but just 4 of those have been in the box. And I think his average XG is just something like 0.08. Whereas Trippier has had 4 goal attempts, none in the box. But he does have, I think, some free kicks that have hit the bar a couple of times, at least I remember. So this could have been 2 on another day as well. In terms of creativity, I think Trent has created 30 chances to Trippier 16. I found this surprising. 9 big chances to 3. It doesn't feel that way, right?
It doesn't. I mean, you just see the volume of the chances that Trippier creates with crosses, but maybe they're less effective. They don't reach the striker, so you don't see the impact. I mean, Trent creates those chances, which basically result in the player being through on goal. So maybe they're higher XG chances eventually, which gives him a higher XA.
9 big chances created is a lot, but I wonder how many of those are for our boy Darwin Núñez. That doesn't help.
We will talk about him as well.
Do we have to? But I guess we do. Let's just have a quick look at the fixtures for both of them as well in terms of difficulty, because the funny thing is they both have a difficult run of fixtures, I would say, short term. First up is Liverpool. They have Arsenal this week, Burnley away, Newcastle at home, Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away. So, I mean, even Bournemouth away isn't a tough fixture. The only banker clean sheet is Burnley, who we also know can play. They probably concede 3 or 4, but you do expect them to score 1. So, and then let's go to Newcastle. The Luton game again. I want to go back to Rob T's graphic, which you sent me, Pras. How the bookies have started changing Luton's valuation in terms of clean sheet odds. It's only a 37% probability today for that.
Yeah, I think, look, to be honest with you, if Haaland was fit and Salah and Son weren't going away, no one would be discussing.
You wouldn't be thinking about it, right? Pretty much.
Because the fixtures are all right. But it's a case of, if I'm going to today buy a defender, I need to, if I have somebody gives me 500,000, I'll be buying a Lamborghini. Why should I buy a Toyota? So that's basically the thinking of, regardless of fixtures, I'll probably want one of these two guys. But you're absolutely right that you don't have to go for them. And it is a bigger question of, should you spend the money or not? When is Haaland back? And in that context, I think people have landed to an opinion where maybe you can go shopping and maybe one of Trent or Trippier are necessary. But like you said, I mean, even after Luton, Nottingham Forest at home is the banker clean sheet, maybe for Trippier. That actually smells like a 12-pointer, to be honest. But after that, again, Liverpool away, not necessarily a clean sheet. Man City at home, not necessarily a clean sheet. Villa away, as Man City and Arsenal have found out, is not an easy fixture. But then after that, it becomes good again with Luton, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth at home, and Gameweek 26, which is not in the ticker here, like I mentioned. That could be a blank, or that could be a good fixture, which is also Luton. Or is it Luton, Gameweek 26? No, sorry, it'll be Arsenal. It's a tougher one, but at least it's a fixture and not a blank.
Right. So I think that will make a big decision on which way I go, because once I get one of these defenders, I don't think I'll necessarily be selling them when Haaland comes back. So the more I think about it, I'd probably go without Son. I'll probably replace him with somebody like Richarlison. That's where probably you could make up the 3.5 million you will need to get Haaland, right? Or you could look at it as I'm putting all my money in one spot. If I want Haaland, it's just one transfer. What I don't like doing is sprinkling the money around with 3 or 4 players rather than one. If anything, you put it in one cash cow. If you need money, boom, you just drain it right away.
Correct. See, the thing after 21, it's so difficult to say at the moment, is because there's a few things that are going to happen. One, the City Brentford game at some point will be rescheduled, and it could be any time after game week 21. So it's increasingly unlikely that it happens in game week 21. Still not impossible. So if that double is happening, then people will want to look at Foden, maybe if De Bruyne is fit, maybe Alvarez for a very short period, but definitely Haaland back. Then now you have the other thing of, this Bournemouth Luton game. It's very unlikely that it happens this week. This will also come as a double. So you may need another midfield slot. So when you hold on to a Salah and a Son, not only are you holding on to funds, you're holding on to midfield slots that you may need for these doubles. So that becomes a little bit of an issue. And then the last but not least is these game week 26 picture will be clear by game week 21. So you will then know if there's a Liverpool double before, because Liverpool play Luton in game week 26. If they're blanking, there is a case that the double happens actually before game week 26. So this picture between 21 and 26 is so hazy at the moment. It's very difficult to know if you need the funds or you don't need the funds.
Because the Bournemouth Luton can effectively go any week. They're not in Europe or they're not in any other cup competitions as well. You could literally just put in Smacker any week that isn't a European week. So they're very flexible with that. But in general, are you comfortable with selling both Salah and Son? Today I was just having a look at the value. Now Salah is about to head up to 13.3. I got him at 12.5. For both of these guys, the red flag unavailable will be slapped on. That's going to raise their threshold massively. I don't think either is going to drop more than 0.1, 0.2. So to buy both of them back, you're at least talking about an additional outlay of 0.5 million. Is that a consideration to you at all? Do you think people can plan it such a way, maybe upgrade your fifth defender, maybe upgrade your eighth attacker, rather than keep these guys, and once like, let's say you want to buy Haaland back, downgrade that position instead? You could lose one of them, not both, but just something that I was thinking about.
I think everybody will have 8 attackers by game week 20, because everybody is moving towards this Watkins, Solanke, and then you get Haaland back by game week 20. You have 5 midfielders already. Palmer enables basically 8 attackers. So I think people will have 8 attackers. So there's a question of, do you want to keep one of Son or Salah between this period? I'm actually thinking of, it really depends on your team, right? I got Salah way later than some of the other guys who got them game week 7, game week 6. So I have about maybe 0.4, 0.5. So that's 0.2 sell value. So I'm thinking I can get around with doing Salah to, let's say, a Foden, if I think that the City double is happening. And then a third striker, Chris Wood, to a Haaland. That works for my team. But other people may need more funds. They may need more funds and they can't get to a Foden. So they have to send Son as well. If KDB is fit, then I'm convinced we will have to sell Son and Salah, because you have to get Haaland and KDB into your team. So I'm actually open to selling them, but also in a scenario where I think maybe I can get away with keeping a Son benched or a Salah benched in your case. I think that's viable. I don't think it's the end of the world.
I think the key will also be to move. I'm talking pure value here, is buying guys who will shoot up in value. There's obviously the traffic, I think, will be a bit scattered, but somebody like a Bowen, I look at, he might shoot up in value during that period. Richarlison might gain 0.3, 0.4. So that might offset that by 0.2 a little bit as well.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, beyond this period, when Salah and Son come back, there's also an argument to say you don't have to have the 2 back immediately. Because like I mentioned, there could be a case where Salah has a blank in game week 26. Maybe he has a blank in game week 29 as well, because they make the FA Cup quarterfinal. So at the moment, I'm not as fixated on that until January. We'll have a whole month of January to think about it, when you have the FA Cup 4th round. You have the Carabao Cup semi-final. So you know the much better picture of game week 26, game week 29. You'll also know when you want to wildcard. Maybe it's better to just dead end to wildcard in 27, like many did last year after this blank in game week 26. So at the moment, I am open to all strategies, and I'm open to selling, because ultimately sale value is in our head. I mean, we can get these guys back. There is money flowing around.
Correct. And there's no guarantee they won't get injured during the tournaments, etc., etc. So anything can happen in that sense. What's your general plan about putting the money in defense, and have you identified who you want to go for?
So last week I was very tempted by, I didn't have Poro, Trippier, and Trent, which are basically the 3 go-to defenders. If I was wildcarding last week, those were the 3 I would have had, again, because of $1 million Lamborghini kind of thing. But, I'm
surprised you're a Lamborghini man, Prasad. I was picturing you a Ferrari guy, but go on.
I mean, I could have used any. I'm neither. So, I would say I landed on Poro, because that left me an option of getting Haaland back through Solanke. Obviously, I didn't know what would happen with Bournemouth and etc. So that's why I didn't want to spend all the money last week. This week, I'm more inclined to think about either Trippier or a Villa defender. And actually, it's a really strange thing to compare these two things because, look, I have double Arsenal defense, and there's other people, maybe even with a single Arsenal defense. Arsenal's fixtures for the foreseeable are absolutely incredible. And you can basically say the only two difficult fixtures are Liverpool away in game week 18, Liverpool home in game week 23, and game week 26, which could be a blank or it could be Newcastle at home. So those are the three fixtures that I'm worried about for my Arsenal team. The team that solves it is Aston Villa, because Aston Villa, when Arsenal play Liverpool away, play Sheffield United at home. Aston Villa, when Arsenal play Liverpool at home, they play Sheffield United away because it's a mirror game week. We talked about it the other time. Game week 26, the blank, they play Nottingham Forest at home. 3 weeks where I definitely don't need my Arsenal defender. I have my Villa defender who's safe, who will play game week 26, I know. That's the thinking around Villa. Problem with Villa is, ideally you want a Moreno or a Dean, because whoever's playing on that left-hand side, that's the money guy, and nobody knows if they're nailed. The other money guy used to be Cash, but now they're seemingly looking at like 3 center backs, and we have to talk about Kamara's suspension as well and how that impacts them. But so that leaves as a very boring choice, like you get a Pau Torres or a Konsa. So it's not as exciting, again, to buy an asset which is only simply a rotation cover for your Arsenal defense and not really a sexy option like a Trippier or a Trent. So I'm actually between Trippier and a Konsa. And if Newcastle lose tonight, then I'm 100% on Trippier. If they win tonight, then I'll probably be on Konsa.
But tell me something, with the Villa guy you're considering, doesn't the Liverpool guy, let's say a Trent is a play every week guy anyway, right? Because let's see, you play your Trent and your 2 Arsenal defenders, and who are your other 2 guys? Porro. So
I can't play,
So effectively you'll be benching a very good defender.
Exactly. But now there could be an argument to say you can sell your second Arsenal defender, because at some point, again, using the money argument, maybe you own Odegaard, because Odegaard looks really, really good. And Arsenal attack is clicking, their fixtures are good. So it's not like you can't maneuver around it, but I just think it's good, and I don't need to move things around as much. There's Richarlison, there's Bowen, there's other options in midfield, and I can just stick my 2 Arsenal guys and keep them longer term. But that's my concern, that if I have two Arsenal, if I have a Porro and a Trent, then it's not as optimal in terms of rotation.
I get the point you're making there, but you're firmly preferring Trippier over Trent, is it?
At the moment, I mean,
depending of course on the draw, like we've already caveated that, but the underlying numbers kind of blew me away. I know I watched Trent a lot, but just looking at those numbers, I think he's worth the additional 1.2.
Could be. But look, X-narrative with Newcastle is also there, right? I mean, Botman is coming back. Share looks like it's a minor thing. Burn is back. So you have like your elite back 4 coming back to fitness. They're out of Europe, which obviously for Newcastle isn't great. For FPL assets, it's really good. I know there's no Europe now, but even for longer term, basically, I just think that you just put and leave Trippier there, whereas Trent funds might be needed a little bit later. Maybe we don't need the 1 million today, but we might need it in game week 25, 26. So I just think there's one guy who I know I'll want for the end of the season, till the end of the season, wildcard obviously aside, is somebody like a Trippier. So I just find that a little bit more appealing for that 1 million less.
Would you bench him for Liverpool, Man City, and Villa?
If I have, no, I would bench at least. I haven't looked at the rotation,
but I think you probably play him at City at home. The 2 away games is probably when you'd look to bench him.
Maybe, yes.
Because at home they can do anything against anyone. You really don't want to bench him.
I won't bench him at home. But then when he plays City, I will play him for City, because then at that time Porro also plays Man United away, which I know he can do all right, but I would rather play Trippier in that case. So yes, I need to think about that rotation a little bit more. But for me, it just feels like having one Arsenal defender, a Porro, and a Trippier or a Trent is enough. You don't need to get both of them, because some people are looking at actually going shopping and spending, doing a Simicast and Livramento, upgrading them to TA.
I wanted to talk
Trippier.
to you about that. In fact, do we upgrade our cheapies? Livramento is a perfect example, and Simicast to their big dogs in their teams with the money.
I see a lot of people starting Trippier Livramento this week, and I'm not too sure actually, because look, Burn was very good. He started, he played, he scored. Botman played the last few minutes, so we will obviously see the lineup today. But I'm expecting Burn and Livramento, maybe Burn as a centre back because Scherer is not completely fit. So they could be playing Lascelles and Burn, and Livramento as left back, Trippier as right back. Let's see. I think that will be the lineup. If that is again the case, and if Scherer is back for the weekend, then you can go back to that setup of Trippier on the right. You could have Scherer and Lascelles or Botman, and then Burn on the left. So you could have a scenario where actually Livramento is now no longer nailed, and therefore I'm not for minutes reasons. I think Livramento becomes a sell soon. Maybe we get away with Gameweek 18, but he's a sell soon.
I think
Tsimikas is not the same.
Scherer's fitness is quite key to that because I don't think they're going to rush Botman back. There's some speculation that he might start Botman today, in which case he does. He won't start him again at the weekend. He shoves Burn in there. So Scherer is a big player that I think he will miss up to 20. Pure speculation just from the way he pulled up because the games are so close. And what were you saying about Tsimikas? I want to bring up the schedule. Should we somehow introduce people to the schedule first before we talk about Tsimikas?
Let's do that while you're bringing it up. So Tsimikas, it's a completely different issue. So with Tsimikas, the thing is that he's supposedly first choice. So there's no minutes risk except for rest that will come with Liverpool, which people expect, for him to miss 1 out of 3 games if they're in quick succession. But for Tsimikas, it's a case of, we've just talked about elite defenders that are attacking for good teams like, a Porro or a Trent or a Trippier. And then you have a really good defense in Arsenal. I just don't see a space for him. And so over medium term, I think he can be a sell, but he's not a short-term sell.
Yeah, because I own him now. I'm okay with him starting him against Arsenal, but we have the schedule up here. The turnaround for Liverpool between Arsenal and Burnley is 70. So that's under 72 hours. And this is not the first time Klopp would rotate at Burnley. Yeah. The last few years, I've seen him do it 2-3 times and win. So it's not necessarily something he's afraid of doing. I think that fixture, Tsimikas, is a bit dodgy, right? Then after that, though, it's around 144 hours. So I have a long turnaround for that game. In the last one, I think that's close to the new year. So, but I am thinking of possibly losing Tsimikas for Trent right after this game. If just because I have the money to burn, and I still want to keep, I'm still very traditional. I still want to keep my 8th attacker cheap. I want to keep my 5th defender cheap because you never know when the money will be needed a little bit. I don't want to do a Kabore to a Trent. I'd rather still do a Tsimikas to a Trent.
Oh, for sure. I don't think we need to. I mean, our 5th defender is just a 5th defender and he's fine. I mean, for you, Kabore, there might be a small consideration of AFCON if you care, but I don't think we need to go that much.
Rotation isn't as much of a factor post 20. That's when they head down to AFCON, so I'm not so worried about that.
Agreed. But I would say after this week, after City are done, then one way or the other, you'll either want to make plans to get Haaland back or you'll want to make plans to get Alvarez as your 3rd striker, because that's my transfer. My plan transfer is Alvarez back for game week 19. Because I just think it's an opportunity. Like if Haaland is delayed, you get Sheffield United at home in game week 20 for Alvarez. I just think getting that 8th attacker could make sense rather than spending it all. But let's finish the discussion on defenders. I think Tsimikas is fine. The problem with Liverpool is they played on Sunday. Their game is tomorrow against West Ham. Then they play Saturday again, and we know how Klopp hates that. And then they play Tuesday. So actually they have the worst 4-day turnaround possible. So it could be that the rotation comes in the game tomorrow against West Ham, which is possible. Klopp hates the Carabao Cup anyway, which may not be a bad thing for us. If they're out, if West Ham win, then we have a clear, we can get Trent without any worries about a blank. Or it comes against Burnley, like you said. And this will be a problem not only for Tsimikas, it will be a problem for potentially Darwin. And dare I say it, even actually Salah. Like I'm worried if Salah plays that Burnley
he's
game.
going to be my captain that week.
That's the thing. Every one of us thought, okay, we don't need Haaland for game week 19 because we'll have Salah against Burnley. So it's something that I'm nervously watching, and it's also why I think people
the options are limited though, right? If Jota was back, I would possibly be worried about, and they missed Jota a lot, I thought, against you guys, against Manchester United, because Darwin just doesn't. The thing with Darwin as an owner, right? The whole thing earlier, he gets his chances. You see the 2-3 big chances. I've owned him for 4 game weeks, and I think he's possibly had 2 big chances over that entire period. He's just not even getting the volume now. So what is the point?
Yeah, the volume has dropped. And the thing is, even when you don't own, you see the highlights package and you see over the 4 games, he's missed these 3 chances. Okay, he's, and his numbers are good. Like, I'm not saying actually he was a bad pick. I actually maintain that if I had a luxury transfer, I would have done Watkins to Darwin as well. So it's not like it was any bad move or it just didn't work out. And it's not damaged you too much, right? I mean, you were able to get Watkins for this haul anyway.
Week, yeah. The only thing I'm losing is primarily the transfers. that I've had
Yeah.
to spend in and out and possibly going to be a transfer behind, because ideally I want to save a transfer in 20 to get both
Yeah.
guys for AFCON and the Asia Cup guys out. So I'll possibly be one transfer behind. Like, for example, I'll already move for Solanke. Next week, I'll probably go for a Trent. Then I'll
Yeah.
probably have to save the transfer. I can't go for the Alvarez like you have.
Right.
So that's probably the trade-off there, which is, I think, a short-term trade-off, because Alvarez for you will just be gone after 20 anyway. So
Correct.
it's
Correct.
not too
Correct.
bad. So the schedule, you can see the entire data up on the Fantasy Football Scout website. We'll talk more for it next pod, because it's more relevant, I think, then when we start looking at the turnarounds. For this week, apart from the Carabao Cup teams, I think everybody else should be fine.
Everybody else should be fine. It's just basically, the block that you're getting into. I think the teams to worry about are Chelsea and Wolves that have a very
Correct.
short turnaround. And other teams are okay. So Chelsea and Wolves are doing the dreaded Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. So watch out for your Sterlings. I don't know about Palmer, but watch out for your Cucurellas, or sorry,
Cucurella's out for 3
Colwills.
months. Yeah, Colwill.
Yeah, for Colwills and others. So that would be my only worry about Chelsea assets. But yeah, I think this block is manageable. It looks more reasonable for teams than it has been in the past. Even the 15, 16, 17 one, or sorry, the 14, 15, 16 one.
Yeah. Brentford obviously have a longer turnaround because they're missing the fixture with the Club World Cup thing. But Brighton and Newcastle, in general, but Newcastle not this week, but for the next batch of fixtures. I'm worried about a Gordon start today. I'm hoping he does get benched. Something to watch
But
out.
it just looks like, because Barnes has now again sort of had a setback. I just, I just think he's fine. I mean, Gordon is even in this game, right? I mean, he was quite lively. Like, as a finally an owner who got a return from him. Yeah, I think he's decent, man. I mean, he's no Palmer, which I have maintained. But no, I think he's a good pick. Newcastle's attack is still great, and I still maintain it's a team that is coming back in terms of injuries. Whether short term they're there or not, I don't know, because Joelinton obviously was also injured. So whether he comes back quickly or not, Isak was injured. So these guys are just getting a lot of these short ends of the stick. But I think generally, I think Gordon is fine.
Should we start now going fixture by fixture? The first one, I think there's not much to talk about from an FPL perspective. Brighton's fixtures, actually just wanted to point out how good they get now. And again, no Europe. You'd have Mitoma, who's going to be going to the Asia Cup in Jan. So again, somebody like Adingra is someone you could look at with a bit more confidence now.
Adingra is also going.
Oh, he's also going?
Yeah, pretty sure.
You might be right there. So
Yeah.
whatever, then who are the options?
Buonanotte is going to be good.
And so I guess. But yeah, as of now, there's not much to talk about here from an FPL perspective, I think.
Yeah, only if Estupinian is back.
Mateta at 4.9.
I mean, again, strikers, we have a lot of cheap strikers.
And
so
we have money now,
nothing.
so it feels silly to go for a 4.9, especially when I think Archer is going to get a little bit of an upturn. The fixtures aren't too bad in the short term.
Correct. So not really. I think Palace, Ulisse took the penalty when Eze was on the pitch. That's mildly interesting. But then Eze was just returning, or he had just been subbed. Exactly. So no, I don't think Palace is of an interest. Brighton, not of interest.
The next is the big one, and I'm glad this game is on the Friday because we'll at least get the press conference on Thursday. For those who are not aware, Pau Torres went off with an injury against Brentford around the 81st minute. Emery said he hopes it's not a major injury. They've obviously not had a scan yet, so we don't know what the outcome of that is. But I think that will have a big impact on the defense, the way they play. I think now I'll be much more confident of a cash start. If you have right now Pau miss out, we probably have Konza shift to centre back. But the left back position is a bit interesting now, because Dean was pretty good in terms of the creativity. He was a top chance creator, but Moreno is a favourite of Emery's. We've seen that last season. How do you think that left back situation is going to play out, and are either of them an option?
Not right now. I think after January, I think Moreno will win that place like he had in the second half of last season. But because the games are so thick and fast and Moreno's coming back from an injury where he had a setback already, I just think neither are an option at the moment. So I think the options are Pau Torres or Konsa, or basically if you have cash, you can hold and pray that...
but you wouldn't buy now, because unless Pau is out for long term, Pau's gone to Bhaji, then we can possibly do that. So let's talk captaincy a little bit. Watkins, an easy one this week?
I think it's close between him and Son. But if Son is now veering more towards the left, not getting all the big chances. Now, I don't think he's a bad asset on the left, but he's not the same if he's playing up top. So I think that one nails it for me then. Watkins looks good. Sheffield United, even though they are better under Wilder, I just think it's a fixture that you tackle here.
I don't feel they'll blow them out. I think it might be something like a 2-0. doesn't feel like a blowout. But at Villa, at their home stadium, they've been defying everything. We've been underrating them all season. It could be anything. But the thing is, with Son, you're up against a side that has kept 4 clean sheets in the last 4 matches. That just sends alarm bells in my head. I don't feel comfortable with that. And even if you look at the projections here, Tottenham are at 2. We're at 2.75. That's a significant spread. And even let's say we consider Salah, because Salah at home is never a bad shout. Whoever he's playing, it's just 1.55. That's how high the Arsenal defense is rated.
Yeah, I don't think it's Salah's in the conversation, to be honest, and it's between Son and Watkins. And yeah, I think at the moment, I think all of us are on Watkins. But I just wanted to say, look, Watkins doesn't have penalties. That basically dents his appeal a little bit, but he's still the talisman. I mean, he's still involved. If they score 2 goals in a game, Watkins has 1 typically. So you're getting a goal, expected goal of like 1.25 out of Watkins. You take that.
Yep. One more thing we should mention, if Pau is fit, then cash situation becomes a bit dodgy because of Kamara's injury. Because traditionally, Villa in possession, they like to play with a 3. You have Kamara dropping back to cover for cash. That's likely not going to happen.
Yeah.
I was quite upset when Kamara got sent off there, but I'm hoping as a cash owner, the Pau injury can bail me out.
Yeah, shout out to FPL Villain. So yeah, he had this tweet on cash not being an option, but the hope is, as you said, if Pau is out, they do need, then both Carlos and Konza will play centre backs. You'll need Cash, and Cash has built up from the back in the past, just not this season. He did it last season. So I think, like, as a cash owner, you have to hope, unless Emery comes back and says tomorrow that Pau Torres is fine, then I think it's a little bit iffy.
But I think you start him either way.
Yeah, you can start him
either way. You take the punt either way. Whatever happens will happen, but you can't bench him in a fixture like this when Villa can go top of the league potentially at Christmas with Liverpool and Arsenal playing each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible how this has turned in terms of, this was a Steven Gerrard team that was massively underperforming with like 2-3 new signings, and then he's completely turned it around. So incredible. Unai Emery masterclass.
With being in Europe, that's what's the most amazing thing. Usually you have teams going on this run when they have nothing midweek. They've been playing strong teams in the conference. Yeah. They've topped their group as well. Very impressive.
Yeah, and so Villa 47% for clean sheet odds this week is the highest, and expected goals of 2.7 is the highest. So I think both having a Villa defender and a Villa attacker will be great. I don't think a midfielder is an option, even though Bailey could be back, but I don't think you buy him now, right? I mean, he's had some injury issues, but is he a buy for you?
Dona kebab transfer.
Yeah.
About that last time. Again, he's on it. And he's maybe somebody like a late riser would pick, but somebody like me, it's just the injury record really puts me off with the game so close. I had him in draft few last game. When he's on, he does a lot of stuff, but then he gets injured for 3 games. It's very frustrating to own.
Apparently, there's a chance that Diaby and Bailey start this one.
Yeah,
because you need some weight.
It's a deep block, right? And I think Tielemans, all your Villa assets.
You had cash, let's say, and we know that Pau Torres is fit, and you have a free transfer that you don't need to make an attack. I think you can still deal with him. Like you can go do cash to
because
a Trippier.
It's a long-term issue. You just do the surgery for your team, and then you just get Pau.
Correct.
It's a good rotation
or the Lamborghini or Ferrari, whatever you like.
Ferrari. We don't do Lambos. Yeah, we're Ferrari fanboys. So let's talk about West Ham, Man United. Lot of interest in Kudus. Scored from 2 shots, but we must mention again he's going to the AFCON, so it's a very short-term transfer. Bowen hit the crossbar early on, scored in the second half. I think he's going to be my replacement for Son rather than Richarlison.
And you intend to hold Gordon through?
Probably, because he has a tough patch of those 3 fixtures which we talked about there. I'll probably hold him through there because ultimately I think Newcastle could score. Let's go back to those fixtures again. It's like Liverpool away. We've seen they could concede a goal. At home, Man City, we've seen how leaky they've been. Could again concede a goal. The Villa one is probably the toughest one, and who thought we'd be saying that when we discuss Liverpool, Man City and Villa in the conversation. But he's capable of scoring now, and I think now I would be a bit more afraid if they had again 3 games and Barnes was back. But he's pretty much the talisman now, almost. I would say, well, Trippier is really the talisman, but in attack, in the front 3.
Yep, I hear you. I think, look, so coming back to Bowen, I think it'll be good again that he plays off the right again. Because by that time, maybe Antonio's back or Ings plays up top and Bowen plays on the right. So it's even better for Bowen. West Ham are doing fine. And I think it's a perception issue that I feel like we can get attackers from a top 4, top 6 team, and then you think, do I want a West Ham attacker? But actually Bowen's doing fantastically well. And if he hadn't been injured, I think a lot of people would have just held him on and not done the whole Mbumo transfer and then the Gordon transfer. So I think
Well, if
he's
he didn't
still a
have that
good
whole
pick,
D
and
thing, his EO would be significantly higher.
absolutely,
That is right. And
absolutely,
more than that, I think it's the absence with lack of clarity, because even when he was back, we didn't know he would be back that weekend. He
correct,
just
correct.
randomly turned up as a starting position. But how do you see this game playing out now? Because at Anfield, you guys set up in a clear D block. You obviously won't be this way. Now, Manchester United, are they investable FPL wise or still an avoid?
No, still in a word, unfortunately. I mean, look, we've now set up as a center 3, which is fairly defensive. Obviously, Bruno was out against Liverpool. He'll be back, but Bruno is still obviously hardworking and he's good. You've got Menu, you've got Amrabat, Casemiro's coming back, Eriksen's coming back. So there's a little bit of a shield that is developing that is actually decent. So McTominay plays. I don't think McTominay play this one. I think it'll be Menu and maybe Amrabat again. So or Amrabat and McTominay, could be either. I just think it's we're going into a shell a little bit. Rashford is not starting. Garnacho is playing off the left, who's hardworking. You have Anthony playing on the right, who's also tracking back a lot more. So the team is just going back to basics a little bit. So you don't know. It could be a 1-0 win. It could be a 1-0 loss. It could be a 0-0 draw. I don't think it's a fixture you target at all. So Man United you can avoid until game week 21. If you see good signs, then they have a good fixture run after that. So then Bruno becomes an option again in midfield for one of those slots.
Next fixture, Fulham Burnley. You play your Fulham assets. I guess everyone just owns Leno. Nobody probably owns anybody else from Fulham, but the fixture run is improving. I had a look earlier today. The fixtures: Burnley, Bournemouth, Arsenal at home, Chelsea away, then Everton, Burnley, Bournemouth. It's a good run if you do want to invest someone there. Jimenez was just getting interesting, but I think he's going to be out for the 3 games now. And that'll probably have a knock-on effect on the rest of their attack as well, I think.
Indeed, Vinicius is not the same, even though last time we said that Vinicius went on a scoring run. But yeah, like I think Fulham is decent. Their clean sheet potential is decent. I saw some people looking at Andres Pereira as a midfield enabler. Also okay, but yeah, I think they're not going to score those 5 goals like they did in 2 games in a row again. Well, maybe they won't. So
Hopefully we can clip that.
exactly. So yeah, I think it's decent. Leno is good. Leno's a good pick this week. Not many people will have. Actually, we didn't talk about Areola.
I was just about to let's talk goalkeepers a little bit, because after keeping a clean sheet, I don't think Areola is getting back. Fabianski keeping a clean sheet.
Well, I saw Areola still had some plastering on his hand, on his
I
wrist.
think he missed the last game due to not being fully fit. It wasn't a selection issue. But now that you've had the keeper clean sheet after donkey years, do you think Moyes will change that?
I think most West Ham fans say that Areola has been much, much better than Fabianski. So I think we just still have to go by. I know Danny will say never trust the fans, but whatever we are hearing is Areola has been good for them, and the clean sheets haven't been his fault necessarily. It's just one of those things. So it's one to watch. I mean, I still am hopeful that Areola comes back because he is the future. Fabianski is what, mid-30s, late 30s?
Yes, late 30s.
So I don't think that's a long-term thing, but I could be wrong.
So what do you do? Let's say you have an Areola Turner, because Turner, obviously, he made his share of mistakes against Spurs. I don't think he's going to necessarily hold a spot. If you have the pair right now, do you move? I think you do.
I think you have to wait 1 week. I mean, if you have the luxury of a transfer, but not many people have another keeper transfer luxury.
You'd be taking a hit, I think. But again, you buy Dubravka now. You are getting 3 good fixtures. I don't necessarily think it's a bad play. I think Dubravka could repay the -4 over the next 3 games. Let's just have a quick look, compare the next
2 good fixtures from Dubravka, right? You only get Luton and
Nottingham Forest, and then Liverpool, Man City, and then as we know, then January, anything could change.
They're looking for someone.
Because 2021 covers all of January. By when you get to 22, the window would have shut. They might have already got a new keeper. So yeah, you are actually getting only 2 good fixtures, in which case, I think you go for Leno.
Martinez could be an option because Villa is actually, in your fixture ticker, also they're high. So
they're
even
high,
beyond
this,
this
point you mentioned, they don't have the nailed upside, guys. So
correct.
Martinez does have that upside with saves and bonus.
Correct. I mean, instead of a Konza, you get a Martinez who could be a decent option. I think Raya is also okay. What do you think? I mean, we've been talking about it that, Ramsdale could win his place back. It's not happening.
Probably not. But again, the midfielder might crop up who you want, right? We already have Saka. Most of us have a defender. I want to keep that spot open more in attack.
Could be, could be. And then our boy Edison. Edison is always there.
No. We have to talk about some of the Diaz slander. What are your thoughts on Diaz versus Schlapp? LR wanted to mention that to all the
I mean,
comments from the last pod.
I know people didn't like his Diaz comment, but yeah, Diaz is. They were poor, man. I mean, what can I say?
They were poor.
It's almost. I mean, they had all control in the game. I mean, that game was ridiculous that they were winning and so comfortable in that game, and then they end up drawing 2-2 because they were not typical City fashion. They were not conceding chances. It was a low XG game, and they end up with 2 chances, including a
First shot on
penalty.
target, and
Exactly. It's just, I don't know. Guardiola was attacking. I think LR said, we should talk about that.
3 shots on target, I think.
Him and Walker, I mean, they were using the width a lot more in that particular game. But we don't know if that was something tactical for that game. Is he trying to change something around because Haaland wasn't there? You don't have Doku anymore. So maybe he was looking for more impetus on the left. We don't know. But I think City is a little bit of a black box. And I can't see myself having any City defense. Just not worth it. Even if they have a double, I could go for 2 attackers or maybe 3 attackers if I see an opportunity, but not a defender.
Yeah, not touching the defense. But to summarize, in terms of if you had the Areola Turner combo, your advice is to hold it out for 1 week and see what happens. What are you looking for in the cup tomorrow? If Areola or Fabianski starts, does that change your mind either way? Because traditionally, Fabianski is used in the cup competitions. Now, suddenly we see Areola crop up there. Does that mean they've switched?
I would say it just means that he's trying to get Areola back into the team. I would still have faith in Areola. Given what we've heard, I would just say keeper transfer, you make it when it's an absolute emergency, or somebody like a Dubravka pops up when, he is 3.9 and he plays for the second best defense in the league.
It's rapid, right? 0.3 for a goalkeeper in 2 game weeks. That just shows how frustrated people are with the existing goalkeeper, I think.
And the engagement levels. I mean, if you remember when we used to play 7-8 years ago, you used to have this kind of price movement in the first 4-5 weeks. And then after that, basically Bob from accounting has forgotten that he made an FPL team and he's not making early transfers. And then you could actually think about things Thursday, Friday.
Because he got his first price rise just when he came on as a sub. He played 10 minutes in the next game week without even a start. He's already gone up by 0.1. Incredible.
Like one of the things, key learnings this season just has been when to hold your transfer and when to go a little bit earlier in terms of exercising that judgment. But yeah, prices have been crazy.
I'm of the view you move the goalkeeper on because I think Areola is still not a great keeper. Otherwise, Fulham's, as we've shown, 7-8 game weeks. I'm pretty confident over those 8 game weeks, Leno will outscore Areola by 4 points.
Fair enough. Look, I still think if you have Areola and you can move the other keeper to a Dubravka, then I still think there's a reasonable chance that, let's say, when Newcastle play Liverpool, West Ham play Brighton at home again. Will you play Liverpool away?
I'll never play Areola. Areola, just in their case, Dubravka gets dropped. For me, the Newcastle defense is any fixture, play them against. I think you have home to Sheffield United, is already gone for West Ham, which is the
but away to Sheffield United, they play when Newcastle play Man City. That could be a week where you could do it.
Yeah, obviously. That was probably the exception there.
Even though it's a home game against Man City, game week 21, but then West Ham away to Sheffield United. Then next game week, they play away to Villa, Newcastle. And West Ham have home to Bournemouth. Again, no confidence, but I just think it could be a chance. And especially if he's lost his place by then, you could do it and keep Areola. That would be my thinking anyway.
Enough. I think we discussed goalkeepers. Now let's just touch upon Luton, Newcastle. We've discussed the backline, and I think it's very difficult to make any judgment now before we see the lineups tonight.
Yeah. It'll be hard to say who starts there. There is a risk. I think that the time is back when Burn becomes an option, 4.4, incredible value. But again, fixtures, you could wait it out. Trippier becomes an option. Share, if he's fit, becomes an option. So we're going back to game week 6, Newcastle, rather than the cheapo guys that enabled everything else in the middle. So I think both Lascelles and Livramento are on their last legs.
Yeah, certainly would be buying Livramento now, even though he got 9 points last week with 3 different goal scorers without any attacking returns. The boy is
he
magic.
Could be my Solanke auto sub, so we'll see. We'll see if I'm happy about it or sad about
9
it.
Either way, right? So if the bonus
I think
gets
I'm
added,
9 or
9.
9.
Exactly,
Yeah,
9 if the bonus gets added. So not much different. A lot of people are in the same boat with Gordon auto subs anyway.
Yeah.
Forest.
But
go ahead.
I was going to say, but I'm actually looking to move Gordon on after game week 19. So I don't intend to keep, because my route to Richarlison is Gordon to Richarlison. and maybe I'll see what I do with Son, maybe even hold Son or not, and Salah becomes a Foden or somebody
So
like
you're
that.
not
So
looking to bank in 20.
no, I
I
think
guess you could.
I
I guess you could sell the two big guys for hits as well. I'm always okay with selling players who are injured or unavailable for a hit because there's no blowback then, right?
correct. I mean, Spurs play Bournemouth at home, game week 20,
20.
and Newcastle play Liverpool away. I think there's an opportunity to do Gordon to Richarlison. At least that's what I've penciled in very loosely.
Fair enough, and then you do Son to somebody else, etc. later on.
Correct.
Reasonable shout. Right, we discussed that. Forest, Bournemouth, good fixture for Solanke, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's some speculation that Nuno Espirito Santo is being lined up for Nottingham Forest, so a new manager bounce if they get it done by then. But Forest are just very hot and cold. Even at home, their form isn't that great that you don't back Bournemouth to score a goal or two.
They've definitely taken a downturn against Everton. They created very little.
They don't really have an identity up front. I mean, I take a keen interest as a Chris Wood owner on what they're doing. He's lost his place, but then Morgan Gibbs White as false nine isn't working out as well. So you just don't know
I think
what
Nuno will
Forest will show
chuck
up.
Chris Wood back. He's more of a Nuno striker as well. But let's say now, let's talk about Solanke a little bit now. If you hold Darwin, somebody like me, do you think moving on to Solanke is a good option? Keeping in mind potentially, if Haaland is back, it could be a very short-term transfer.
I think you upgrade your third striker, right? I mean, we talked about the fact that, I mean, we were gonna we after this we can talk about Liverpool, because I think talking about what to do with Darwin is gonna be a sticking point. So there's a few situations where if you have a Darwin and you don't have Watkins, close your eyes and just do Watkins. And even if it's for a hit, you get it done because Watkins is probably the best captain this week. If you have a Darwin and you have a Watkins, there are two plays. You can upgrade your third striker to a Solanke, keep Darwin for this week, and make sure you have a way to get Darwin up to Haaland very soon, or Darwin down to an Alvarez very soon. So you don't have to sell him. But if you're of the mind that I don't want to mess with my third striker, I'm okay with my structure, then Darwin to Solanke, I think is fine this week. I think he's got a good fixture this week. He's got a very good fixture the week after, an upcoming double possibly whenever this Luton game is rescheduled. If it is rescheduled, to be clear, we don't know what is happening with it. So yeah, I think he's just a very good pick.
I think if we had clarity that, let's say, Haaland is definitely back for 19, I might be willing to give Darwin this week, even if he doesn't start, let him come on as a substitute because it doesn't make sense. But because of that lack of clarity and Solanke posting good numbers, I've already made the move for Darwin to Solanke because I just don't want to have the opportunity where I see on Wednesday that, oh, Darwin is benched against West Ham. He's going to start against Arsenal. Nah.
I mean,
GTFO.
Arsenal is, like we were discussing pre-pod, actually, you don't want him to play Arsenal because then you have a hope that he plays against Burnley. But this
Burnley.
is the problem with Darwin. And this used to be the problem with City assets, if you remember, like Sterling's and Sane's and Foden's. When you get them, it's impossible to sell them because you think the Hall is coming in the next game. Or if he was benched in this game, you think he's going to get minutes in the next game. It's just an impossible loop.
Yeah, I think you sell it. If you're playing with the two forwards and you already have, let's say, like, Watkins, you move him on for a Solanke. But what do you do if you have the three of them? If you have, then you just hold Darwin or you move Darwin on to somebody else. I think then you hold him and move him on to Alvarez the week after.
Yeah, I think you hold him, and possibly if you have five midfielders as well, then you don't even need to play him this week. Like again, I'm not hating on the guy, but if you have five good midfielders and you have Solanke and you have Watkins, they're all better than a Darwin at home to Arsenal. Arsenal is by far, I think, this season the best defense in the league. Their numbers are incredible. So yeah, I don't think it's a fixture where you need to target having two Liverpool attackers.
Yep. I think you move that guy on next week. Do you have any other fourth striker you like besides Alvarez?
I mean, poor Jimenez, he's gone.
Quite
No,
bad.
I don't think so. Yeah, there's not a lot. I mean, we talked about Mateta, we talked about Archer, but these guys are not
scraping
starting
the bottom
guys.
of the barrel as well.
Exactly.
That's not somewhere I could really advise.
Your
I think
boy
wait it out.
Nkunku, could be
Nkunku is
back.
interesting. I was hoping he would get some minutes, but I don't think he's going to be starting anything over this month. I think we'll probably see 2020s, a few sub-on appearances. I don't think he's an option yet. More probably on the other side of the year.
Honestly, in terms of comments on Twitter, I've amazed at the number of people who keep asking about Nkunku. The guy has not played a single minute in the Premier League. People are dying to get him any moment. So yeah, I think Game Week 21 onwards, he could be an option.
Let's talk about Tottenham.
What do you make of Son playing on the left and Richarlison becoming an option up top?
I think Richarlison, the fact that he scored, I think is great. That's, I think, the 2 games he scored in a row, I think, since 2012. Big for his confidence. And as we discussed earlier, he's a more natural fit for the centre forward role. They interviewed Son after the game and he indicated that he preferred playing striker, but he also mentioned that he likes playing on the left, and that's what he's been doing his entire career. He's very comfortable there. So I think Son's stock has dipped a little bit. I think naturally the ceiling also falls because of the position change. Good asset, but not as maybe earlier he was clear of Saka. Let's say now he's probably moved an inch closer.
Yeah, we can say this safely when LR is not on the pod.
Yeah, right.
No, I agree with you. Look, I think when Maddison comes back, the situation will flip again, because I felt at the beginning of the season, Maddison and Richarlison didn't work as the two central guys. So maybe they'll need to fix that. And that's how the whole switch between Richarlison and Son happened. So when Maddison comes back, then we will see. But I think until then, you're safe with Richarlison as a good, very good pick in an attacking team who's going to play up top, especially when Son also leaves. And it looks like for the foreseeable, he's going to take that upfront slot. So not too worried about Son. He's still on penalty, he's still attacking. And you just now have a very nice third position that you can have from Spurs.
Yeah, I think Richarlison is definitely a buy. You don't need to watch this pod to us to tell us that. But let's talk about Porro. Do you prioritize Porro, take a hit for Porro over the two big guys we talk about?
I was in this exact position last week and I chose to do that. But it was not just because of that. I think Porro will score more points. I think Trent or Trippier could outscore him slightly, but the price is just ridiculous. You're still talking sub 5.5 and you're comparing him to guys who are 7 or 8 million. 1.5 and 2.5 million is huge. So for that money, I just think I knew at some point that if I don't take a hit for Porro, I'll miss the boat. And the one, this was the fixture where, Spurs kept a lucky clean sheet. And I still say lucky because Spurs defense is not good. And that Spurs defense is about to lose Bissouma and Sarr for AFCON. So you can't expect a lot of clean sheets, but the guys too attacking, not to. If you enjoy watching football, you have to, and you watch Spurs games, then you have to get Porro.
So, but now this week, now the entry point has passed. I think Everton is still a good entry point. This week, would you still prioritize him over the other two?
I would probably prioritize Trippier over him this week. Now that you have Luton in front of you and you have Nottingham Forest at home in front of you, I still struggle to say if he's, between Trent and Porro. Again, I was in this position last week and I chose not to do it. So it will be wrong for me to suggest otherwise. I just think Porro is still a very, very good pick. And I would prioritize him simply because I know I might have to sell Trent later. But Porro, I don't see myself selling for the foreseeable, especially until Maddison. Yeah.
But I still think if I had to rank the three today, it still be, for me, Trent, Trippier, Porro.
Trippier, Trent, Porro, maybe. But again, price is important. Like that 2.5 million goes a long way.
But it will not be as important a few weeks, but then it will be important again right after 23, 24.
Correct.
So we're talking very short-term things over there. But in general, man, Trent looks on it. You can tell when from his body language, the way he's playing right now. And I think more minutes in midfield are only looking likely. Soboslai's form has dipped a little bit. McAllister has some injury issues. Endo hasn't impressed me at all. So I'm only thinking more time for him. That he
Gravenberch is also injured.
Gravenberch, he loves taking those shots. I think he was probably the one who came closest to scoring, besides that Van Dijk header, that effort that just curled out.
Even that Van Dijk header was Trent assist. So yeah, the two chances that came were all made or done by Trent. I hear you. Look, I think Trent is great. And if he wasn't playing Arsenal and Newcastle and Arsenal in the three out of the next 5, then I would say yes, definitely, or actually 3 out of the next 6. But 2 Arsenal games, a Newcastle game, a Chelsea game, I don't know. I'm a little bit more cautious, but I could be wrong. Trent has a 15-pointer in him any game. And now that Alisson is back, clean sheet potential is back as well. So, look, I think
and we should mention the stats we showed earlier. There was a big fixture discrepancy towards Trent. He had been playing your Sheffield, etc., while you had Trippier playing much more difficult fixtures. So the numbers obviously will make a difference there.
Yeah, agreed. But no, I think, look, Porro, Richarlison, Son are your 3 picks. So if you're not on these 3, if you're on a Kulusevski, I think he's not as great probably as Richarlison, but he's also still a good option. If you're on Udogie, Udogie's out of this week, right?
Yes,
yeah, Udogie's suspended this week.
Yes.
So then I think a switch to Porro is just a natural thing if you wanted to do it.
The big one this weekend, top of the table clash, Liverpool against Arsenal. Now, I just realized while we are talking about forwards, Jesus never came to my mind at all. And then maybe he should because the fixtures do get a lot better right after this game. I think
Yeah,
that's actually a decent option if you want to move Darwin on and you don't want to wait for Alvarez and you don't want to keep that position as a short term one. I think Jesus stands out.
could be. Yeah, I think. I mean, in terms of him, Watkins, Solanke, they're all good options. Just if he had penalties, I would value him more. But Jesus for short bursts, he's over his injury issues. I think he's playing 90 minutes now.
Yeah.
There's a Nketiah is being linked in January with leaving the club anyway. Not that he was a rotation risk from him anyway, but I think yeah, this is a decent shot.
How do you see the game playing out in general? A low scoring game or something similar to the Manchester United game where it's both teams cancelling out? But in general, I remember these fixtures always being high scoring. The 4-4 lives long in my
Yeah,
memory.
yeah, I do as well. But I think those times are past. To be honest, I don't see more than 2 goals combined. So it could be a 1-1, it could be a 2-0 to one of the teams, but nothing more than that. More likely to be lower scoring, to be honest. I mean, that's just the way Arsenal have become a little bit this year, right? I mean, Brighton had nothing for like 75 minutes. That's Brighton we're talking about, who are on a streak of, I think it's the
But
fourth
little bit we have
highest.
to caveat that because they had a draining game Thursday also, right?
Fair enough,
But
fair
that
enough.
being said, the
Whereas
way Arsenal pressed, I don't think that would have made a difference. But we should caveat that a little bit.
could be. But again, Arsenal have a free midweek. They're completely free. They're preparing for the Liverpool game while Liverpool play West Ham on a Wednesday. So there could be that element again where Arsenal are fresher. But then Liverpool at home have been good, but it was disappointing, right? I mean, their attacking performance, even against Sheffield United, even against Man United, it's not been the old Liverpool that we know. I mean, it's maybe we're reading too much into small sample and recency, but it's not been as great having watched Liverpool and having
There's
not
been a
owned
dip
Darwin
because
and
even
watched their
Palace and
games.
all that stuff, Palace, Sheffield United, they weren't that great. Soboslai, there's been a dip in form and they've missed Jota.
Correct, correct. So I'm actually thinking it's going to be low scoring. Obviously, we'll be proven wrong with a 3-3 draw because these things become game state as well, right? One team
Absolutely,
scores
it's all
early,
games,
then
one
it
seems to.
opens up.
But are you thinking of playing one of your Arsenal defenders?
I am. And unless there's a situation, so coming back to my team, and I'll talk about it when we come to bus teams, unless there's a situation where I think that Livramento looks okay to play, then I could do Charlie Taylor to Konsa and play basically Konsa, Livramento, and Porro. So I can actually bench both my Arsenal guys. So I don't mind doing that. Or equally, I don't mind playing one either. So we'll see. I'm open
Yeah, I
to
don't
it,
think
but
it's a
I
bad
don't.
play necessarily. I think I'm putting him my Arsenal defender as my second sub behind
Hmm.
Archer, but if he has to come on for cash, it's fine. I have,
I mean, if
but
Pau Torres is fit, again, we're going into best team, but you could even play him.
hmm,
Um, I mean, we'll see once we know what Emery says.
cool. Yeah, but in general, I'll repeat this again. If you have Darwin, sell him. Just not worth it. Even Diaz is not playing well. Diaz is starting every minute playing. I don't think he's been playing well.
He's not. You expect Diaz to basically do what a Doku does for City, where he's the outlet. Wins the dribble, creates some space, and basically that creates further space for the attack. He's not doing that. I mean, it was very easy, at least in the last couple of games, to defend him. The attacks are all more gravitating towards the Salah side anyway. So yeah, I think it was. I don't know what it is, but you're right. It's maybe tiredness. It's maybe they're missing Jota for a little bit of a different way of attacking from that side.
But 1.55 in general, yeah, it's just predicted to be a mid to low scoring game. Under 2.5 goals is what the bookies are predicting for it.
Correct.
The next game is predicted to be even lower scoring. Wolves Chelsea. It's
You
at
tell me.
Molineux. It's at Molineux, and traditionally Wolves have been very good at home. They've taken points off all the big boys. At Stamford Bridge, I would be a bit more confident. We were very poor the first half, has been well documented. He made a small change. He put Palmer on the right, made it a lot better. I'm not very optimistic for the fixture. I think Wolves will score. But there's a
Hmm.
lot of interest in the Chelsea defense. What has happened now, we know that Cucurella is out for a period of 3 months. You have Reece James, God knows when he's going to be back. Gusto, I think, will get some games, but I don't think he's going to be completely nailed on. But Cole will now. I think his X minutes have gone up significantly, and he can get forward at left back. It's not that he doesn't have any attacking threat at all. I think if you're looking for a defensive option for a longer term, because Chelsea's fixtures, again, for the foreseeable are great. It's Wolves, Palace,
Yeah.
Luton, Fulham over the next 4 years, Liverpool away, then Wolves, Palace, Man City. 6 out of the next 8 are playable. So, again, shopping for a defender this week, 4.6 Colville is a great option, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I just worry for Chelsea where Poch does strange things when it's midweek games, right? I mean, you remember the one where Sterling was randomly benched. Like I'm actually, I mean, you tell me, but I'm worried, even worried for Palmer. Like because they play Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday in 18, 19, 20. Not that you can do anything about it, but I just think Chelsea are a little bit, Poch does weird things when games are coming thick and fast.
He does, but it's a very young team now. I think Palmer's what, 23. I think he can cope
Mm,
with the schedule. I don't think, and he hasn't really implemented that high energy pressing style that he's had at Southampton, Spurs as much into Chelsea yet. So I
right.
think the guys will be safe midweek as well.
Fair enough. And plus, they've not had a lot of minutes previously, right? They're not in Europe.
Exactly. That makes a difference. It's Tuesday. The good thing is this is not on a Wednesday, so you get that additional day of rest also. So we're pretty much reset. I think in
Right.
terms of rotation, everyone, the only guy people have is Palmer and maybe some with Sterling. I think both are fine.
Both are fine. Yeah, I agree on Colwill and Gusto. Watching them, but again, not too high on Chelsea because also the rotation with Arsenal and others, like I talked about with Villa, fits a little bit better in that regard with the other popular defenders. But yeah, Chelsea defense is decent.
Seem to have lost you, Pras, there for a second. I think I'm sure. Pras, are you back with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. So
Okay, sorry.
go ahead.
So I was saying the banker clean sheet was obviously last week. There's still some decent ones coming up, but again, we talked about Luton away. Is that a banker clean sheet anymore or not? Wolves away, not a banker clean sheet. So I can see Crystal Palace at home in the upcoming ones, and maybe Fulham at home as the two where you can say that those are a little bit more banker, but otherwise not really amazing. So I think they're better options.
That's fair enough. I wouldn't disagree with that. Anything else? You covered one to bus teams?
No, I think we covered it all well. Let me just go through some of our Discord questions. Maybe you go to bus team, then I can see
Yeah.
if there's anything we've left.
I'll walk through LR's team first up. You can have a look at the Discord. He's got Dubravka in goal, Porro, Livramento, Gabriel in defense, Son, Salah, Saka, Richarlison in midfield, Solanke, Watkins, Darwin up top, and on the bench, Strakosha, Taylor, Maguire, and McAtee. So yeah, the bench is pretty thin. He's got a load of money in the bank like every other Gujarati out there. So he's going looking to upgrade one of the defenders over here to Trippier or Trent. He's not sure who he's going and who he's buying yet.
I mean, he has the same Livramento issue as me, which is basically if Livramento is fine, then he can move on Taylor or Maguire. If he's not fine, he'll probably need to think about moving Livramento. And he's
Correct.
not blocked himself off 3 Newcastle, so he could still do Maguire to a Trippier, for example.
But I think moving on to, I think Maguire, I don't know how long he's out. Potentially, I think yeah, we won't move on Taylor. I think yeah, Maguire is the one I'd move out because I think Livramento is still a good pick. But is he a good pick long term though? I think he's possibly a good pick till 20. After that, he becomes an issue. While Maguire, I think, do you think he'll be the first choice centre back now with Varane?
Until Martinez comes back, he'll be first choice because we played Johnny Evans against Liverpool, who did fine, but he needs somebody who can play on that side. And clearly, if he's playing Evans over Lindelof, then Maguire will play over Evans.
It's a tough one because I think long term Livramento out makes the most sense over here. But then the next two fixtures, again, if he plays, are good fixtures.
Correct. And he's gone for Watkins captain as well. I see very still holding on to Darwin. He's been there since game week 10. So he's one of the OG Darwin owners.
He has a
Uh,
temperament for that. I'm sorry, but I don't. And I want to talk about the reason potentially why I bought Darwin, right? Because I thought I'd try to be a little bit more aggressive this season. Look at players I wouldn't otherwise consider. There's an opportunity to go against the template for a short period to do it, but not happening again. I think we
it's
just
once
stick.
bitten, twice shy. This is why people say, why do you play in a certain way? Because it doesn't work out. We think it works out, and we only remember the times when it works out. But actually, it's for your anti-template pick to work out. Not only the template pick has to blank, which Watkins did against Man City and Arsenal. Your guy has to do better as well, which obviously doesn't happen always.
This is your team, Press.
So I've got Dubravka in goal. I've got Saliba starting at the moment, which makes me a little sad because I always felt Gabriel is better than Saliba, but Saliba is getting the bonuses and I see him up top more. Livramento and Porro in defense. I've got Palmer, Saka, Son, Salah, and Gordon in midfield, and Solanke and Watkins captain. Yeah, like I said, I think I'll do If I like Livramento and I think he has good minutes chances, then I will do Charlie Taylor to Konza and I play him instead of Saliba. If what is more likely is I don't think Livramento is an option and I want to sell him because of the reasons that long term I don't want him, then Livramento to Charlie Taylor or Konsa could be an option.
Fair enough.
But I definitely do a transfer.
If you want Trippier, then you have to go Livramento because you're tripled up on your Newcastle lads.
Correct.
Makes sense. My team, Dubravka in goal, Poros, Tsimikas, Cash in defense. Looks on paper good. 3 upside guys. Who plays? That remains to be seen. Salah, Son, Saka, Gordon, Palmer in midfield. The same as you basically. Watkins and Solanke Watkins captain. Archer and Gabriel on the bench. I've already done the move of Darwin to Solanke last night. I couldn't stand the sight of him anymore.
Nothing else? No hit for Trippier or Trent?
I don't think so, unless Tsimikas definitely starts this week, midweek. But even then, that doesn't preclude him from starting against Arsenal. And I thought he was pretty good. Created a few chances, getting good positions, taking a few set pieces against United. He did create a few chances. So I think I want to give him this game. Then at Burnley, I'll possibly look to shift him around or move him around in the bench. Because again, long term, I think up to 22 at least he's fine. Because after 20, the schedule opens up. And he is, like you said, first choice. There's a big difference with Livramento over there.
Massive. And by the way, another good thing for Tsimikas is that recent trend we've seen is that Gomez comes as at right back and Trent goes midfield. So you could see a game where that happens where, when it's a Gomez game, it's just that Gomez starts right and Trent plays in midfield because of the injuries we talked about. McAllister, Gravenberch, they're all out. So it's very possible that Tsimikas keeps playing and actually starts all the games in the congestion period.
Correct. Right. We've already gone close to, I think, over an hour. It's a short turnaround. Should we wrap up?
Yeah, we could. I don't see any other questions,
etc. So we completely forgot.
Nothing like that. I mean, look, what I would say is we still have our target for 30,000 subs. We're 1,000 people away. So if you're listening to this, if you think this content is useful and it helps you, then I would, we would really urge you to subscribe if you can. It helps us out. It doesn't cost you anything, and that would be really much appreciated. And if you wanted to go beyond that, and if you wanted to join our Patreon, it's patreon.com/the FPL Wire. And you get access to our Discord and you get some monthly prizes, which I need to actually get on top of for November.
I need to tell you that is also my bad.
But you do get you do win some mugs and you get an FF Scout membership for free for a year. So all of that good stuff. So if you can support us, that would be much appreciated.
Right, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you, Pras, for taking time out from your family vacation to join us. I don't think you'll be with us in the next 2 pods. We'll see you around, I think, in January now.
We'll see. Maybe next week. I'm basically off to Disney World next week, so I'll be back on Thursday, Friday. So if you do one on Thursday, Friday,
we'll play it by ear because I think you're going to be in the East Coast. I think the timings aren't too bad.
Yeah. We'll see. Great. But good luck everybody for your game week and good to talk to you, Zoff.
Good luck. Thank you guys for joining us. See you next week.
See you.